Hey everyone, and welcome to your very own deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
You know how it is, right? Some folks just seem to nail every goal they set, while the rest of us are kind of like still figuring things out.
I know exactly what you mean.
Well, we are tackling that very question today.
Oh, awesome.
We're diving into this whole idea of the compound effect.
Okay.
It's from the book by Darren Hardy.
I love that book.
So get ready, because we're about to rethink how tiny actions, the ones you barely notice, can actually snowball into massive wins over time.
That's what's so amazing about the compound effect, right? We always think we need these big dramatic changes,
Yeah.
but Hardy shows us that it's really the small, steady stuff repeated over and over that makes the real difference.
So true. Okay, so let's unpack this whole compound effect thing a little bit.
Sounds good.
Hardy uses this thought experiment to illustrate it. It's called the magic penny analogy.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
Okay, so imagine this.
Yeah.
Would you rather have like $3 million right now?
3 million.
Or a single penny that doubles in value every single day for a month?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Right.
3 million sounds pretty amazing, though, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But here's the thing, that penny on day 31,
Yeah.
it's worth over $10 million.
No way.
Yeah, that's the power of compounding in action. Early on, the growth is super slow, like barely noticeable.
Yeah, you almost think it's not even worth it.
Exactly. But you stick with it, right?
Yeah.
And the results are seriously mind-blowing. And this isn't just about money or getting rich quick.
Right.
It's about this bigger idea that consistent effort, even in tiny doses, can give you exponential results over time.
So it's more about the long game,
Exactly.
not those overnight miracles.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay, so that's the penny analogy. But how does this all play out in real life, not just with imaginary pennies?
Right. Good question. Well, Hardy brings it to life with the story about 3 friends, Larry, Scott, and Brad.
3 friends.
Yeah. All start out pretty average, But then Scott decides to make a few small changes, like really small.
Okay, like what?
So he starts reading 10 pages of a good book each day,
Okay.
listens to 30 minutes of something inspiring or educational during his commute,
Right.
and cuts out just 125 calories from his diet.
Boy, hold on. Just 125 calories?
Yeah.
That's like nothing.
Right. Most people would think that's a rounding error, not a life change.
Totally.
And that's exactly where most people get tripped up. They think those tiny changes won't make a difference.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, get this. After 31 months,
Yeah.
Scott ends up losing 33 pounds. He gets a promotion at work.
What?
And his marriage is even happier.
Wow.
All from those tiny little tweaks.
That's amazing.
Meanwhile, Brad, who indulged a little and skipped the self-improvement stuff,
Yeah.
he gains weight, feels stuck at work,
Oh, no.
and has problems in his relationship.
It's like one tiny change just set off this whole chain reaction.
Exactly.
Like a domino effect.
Hardy calls it the ripple effect, and he
Uh-huh.
uses this funny example of Brad baking muffins.
Muffins.
Yeah. What starts as this harmless little treat turns into this whole weight gain issue,
Oh, no.
which then affects his energy levels and even the time he spends with his wife.
So it's like those little choices can snowball into bigger consequences.
Exactly. Sometimes we don't even realize it's happening.
You've probably experienced this yourself, right? Maybe not with muffins,
Maybe.
but those little habits that kind of sneakily affect other parts of your life.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
Totally. Like that one more episode before bed that throws off my whole morning routine.
Ugh, yeah, I know that feeling.
Okay, so we've seen how these small changes can have a big impact. But how do we actually use this compound effect to our advantage?
Right.
Do we have to become marathon runners and financial gurus overnight?
Haha, no. The good news is it's not about some huge transformation.
Very good.
It's about making small, smart choices and repeating them consistently.
Okay, so small, smart, and consistent. I can work with that.
Exactly.
But where do we even begin?
Well, Hardy is a big believer in tracking. He talks about tracking his spending for a whole month.
Oh, yeah, I've tried that. It was eye-opening for sure.
Right. It makes you aware of all those unconscious choices we make.
The ones that drain our time or money without us even realizing it.
Exactly.
I've tried tracking expenses before too.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how those daily coffees and little impulse buys can add up.
Oh, yeah, I know. And speaking of coffee, Hardy throws out this crazy statistic.
Yeah.
He says that a daily $4 coffee habit over 20 years could cost you over $51,000.
$51,000. That's insane.
It really puts things in perspective, right?
Yeah, it makes you think twice about that latte.
Right. But here's a more inspiring example. Hardy talks about this woman named Kathleen.
Okay.
She went from being broke to a millionaire
A millionaire.
just by saving $33 a month.
Oh, she became a millionaire from saving just 33 bucks a month.
Yeah, it's incredible, right?
That's amazing.
It really shows you the potential of the compound effect, especially with money.
Yeah, but it sounds like it applies to other areas of life too.
Absolutely. Any area where you want to see improvement.
Okay, so small, consistent actions over time. Got it.
Yeah,
But how do we break those bad habits and form good ones?
right.
Is it all about willpower?
Well, willpower alone isn't usually enough. Hardy says that habits, good or bad, are basically unconscious behaviors.
Unconscious.
Yeah. He compares it to flying a plane that's just 1 degree off course.
Okay.
It seems like a tiny difference, right? But over time, you end up hundreds of miles from where you want it to be.
Wow, so those little deviations, those little cheats or slips,
Yeah,
they can really throw us off course in the long run.
exactly. It's about making small adjustments to our course, not trying to overhaul everything at once.
Okay, got it. Small adjustments, not massive overhauls.
Exactly.
So have you ever actually broken a bad habit using these principles?
Oh, yeah, definitely. My friend and I were both struggling with caffeine.
Oh, I've been there.
We decided to quit together, but gradually.
Yeah.
We replaced our coffee with herbal tea first, and then slowly reduced the amount of caffeine in the tea over a month.
Wow.
And you know what? We both quit without those horrible headaches.
Seriously?
Yeah, totally.
I tried quitting caffeine cold turkey once,
Oh, yeah.
and the headaches were brutal. It sounds like you guys found a way to hack the system.
It was all about consistency and those gradual adjustments Hardy talks about.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so small changes, consistency, got it. But how do those actually lead to the big results?
Oh, good question.
Party talks about something called Big Mo, right?
Yes. Big mo, or momentum. It's that force that builds up when you keep taking action.
Like a snowball effect.
Exactly. Think of it like pushing a merry-go-round. At first, it takes a ton of effort, right?
Oh, yeah. I remember those days on the playground.
But once you get it spinning, it's much easier to keep it going.
Totally. And then it feels like it's almost spinning itself.
Right, that's momentum. Hardy gives all sorts of examples of this in action.
Like what?
Like Michael Phelps. He built his Olympic success through years of disciplined training. Or think about the success of Apple's iPod.
Yeah.
It was built on years of innovation and building brand loyalty.
Right.
And then you have giants like Google and YouTube.
Yeah.
They dominate their markets because they've consistently grown and adapted.
It's not just one big thing.
Exactly. It's the accumulation of consistent effort over time.
So Big Mo isn't just about individual success.
Yo.
It's about companies, industries even.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shows how those seemingly insignificant daily actions can have a ripple effect far beyond ourselves.
Wow. Okay. So how do we start building this momentum in our own lives?
Yeah, that's the big question.
What are some concrete things we could do to create a routine that sets us up for success?
Well, Hardy's a huge advocate for routines. He believes they automate good habits and free up mental energy for other things.
So it's like having a pre-programmed system for success.
Exactly. Instead of relying on willpower all the time, you have these routines that make those good choices automatic.
Could sound way easier.
Right. And he points out that even top performers like golfer Jack Nicklaus rely on routines.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Nicklaus had this specific pre-shot routine that he did before every single shot.
Wow.
It helped him make sure his mental and physical game were always in sync.
I mean, if someone at that level needs a routine,
Yeah.
I'm guessing the rest of us could use one too.
Gladly, a good idea.
So what's the most important thing to keep in mind when we're creating routines for ourselves?
Hardy recommends thinking about your day's bookends.
Bookends.
Yeah. What can you control about how your day starts and ends?
Oh, okay.
Those are the times to build in specific actions that support your goals.
So those bookend routines are like the foundation for a successful day.
Exactly.
Okay, but how do we keep that momentum going when life gets crazy?
Yeah, life definitely throws curveballs.
All the time.
Yeah.
It all comes back to consistency, right?
Absolutely. Hardy uses this great analogy of a water pump.
Okay.
It takes a lot of effort to prime the pump,
Right.
but once the water flows freely, it's much easier to keep it going.
So those initial efforts are everything.
Yeah, they're crucial. But once we get over that hump, it becomes much easier to stay consistent.
But what if you stop pumping?
Then you got to start all over again.
Oh, man. So it's like a constant effort.
It is, but it's worth it.
It's so easy to give up too soon, though.
I know, right? We often quit before we've even given ourselves enough time to see results.
It's like that saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
Yeah,
The second best time is today.
exactly. Even if we don't see the results right away, those consistent actions are setting us up for future success.
So true. Okay, so this has been amazing, but I feel like it's a lot to take in.
I know, right? Yeah.
How do we avoid feeling overwhelmed by all this talk about routines, consistency, and the compound effect?
That's a good question. It's about starting small
Okay.
and focusing on what you can control.
Okay.
Choose just one area where you want to see improvement.
Okay. One area.
Yep. Hardy recommends picking the habit that has the biggest impact on your life
Okay.
and tracking your progress in that area for at least 3 weeks.
So instead of trying to change everything at once,
Right.
just pick one key habit,
Yeah.
track it diligently, and see what happens.
Exactly. It's about those small, consistent actions compounding over time.
Okay, I'm ready for the challenge.
Yeah.
But what about those times when we hit a wall?
Yeah.
When we're tempted to give up, when it feels like our efforts aren't paying off?
Hmm.
How do we push through those tough moments?
That's where Hardy's concept of acceleration comes into play. It's about finding those opportunities to go above and beyond, to really push our limits. It's about those times when you choose to give that extra 10%,
Yeah.
whether it's at work or in your relationships or even just in your own personal growth. It's about pushing past your comfort zone and kind of surprising yourself with what you're capable of.
So instead of just meeting the bare minimum, you're looking for ways to really excel to make a lasting impact.
Exactly.
But isn't that exhausting, though?
Well,
Trying to constantly go above and beyond.
Hardy's point is it's not about burning yourself out. It's about finding those strategic moments where a little extra effort can have a big payoff.
Okay.
He compares it to those extra reps at the gym,
Yeah.
When you're already feeling the burn, but you decide to push for one more. It's those moments that build strength and resilience.
Okay. I like that mindset shift.
Yeah.
Instead of dreading those extra efforts,
Yeah,
you start to see them as opportunities for growth.
exactly.
Do you have any real world examples of this acceleration in action?
Oh, yeah, tons. Remember Lance Armstrong's incredible performance in the Tour de France?
Oh, yeah.
He was known for pushing through unimaginable pain and exhaustion to conquer those grueling mountain stages.
Wow, that's next level.
It wasn't just physical strength either.
Yeah.
It was that mental toughness, that refusal to quit that really set him apart.
Oh, he's a legendary athlete.
Yeah.
How does that translate to us regular folks?
Good point. Well, Hardy tells this story about a mentor who advised a job seeker to fly across the country on a moment's notice for an interview.
Ooh, seriously?
You might seem extreme,
It does.
but it showed a level of commitment and initiative that really made an impact.
Wow, talk about going the extra mile.
It shows that sometimes those bold moves can really pay off.
Yeah, but it doesn't always have to be something that drastic, right?
Oh, definitely not.
What are some smaller ways we could do this?
Hardy encourages finding small opportunities to do the unexpected,
Okay.
to surprise people with your thoughtfulness and effort. He even talks about sending Thanksgiving cards instead of the typical holiday greetings.
Oh, I love that. It's those little unexpected gestures that really stick with people.
Right. It's like you're making a conscious choice to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, instead of just blending in.
Exactly. He also mentions Richard Branson's knack for doing the unexpected,
Oh, yeah, like what?
like driving a tank down Fifth Avenue to launch Virgin Cola.
That's so Branson.
It's not always about grand gestures, though. It's
Right.
about finding those moments to create a positive ripple effect that amplifies your efforts.
So acceleration isn't just about external actions then, right?
Right.
It seems like our mindset plays a big role too.
Absolutely. Hardy talks about the need to be aware of the influences that shape our thoughts and actions.
Okay.
He emphasizes controlling our input, basically the information we feed our minds.
Like garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. If we're constantly bombarding ourselves with negativity, it's going to be much harder to stay focused and motivated.
Makes sense. So what do we do about it?
Hardy encourages us to become more aware of what we're reading, watching, and listening to. He even suggests putting ourselves on a media diet.
A media diet.
Yeah.
Interesting. I feel like I could use one of those. It's so easy to get sucked into that endless scroll of news and social media.
Oh, I know. It's a real challenge, but it's about being intentional with what we allow into our minds.
Right.
Hardy suggests replacing negative input with positive, uplifting content,
Okay.
like inspirational books, podcasts, audiobooks. Think of it like nourishing your mind with healthy food instead of junk food.
I like that analogy. It makes sense. But it's not just about what we consume, right? It's also about who we surround ourselves with.
You gotta leave. Hardy calls it our reference group, and he believes it determines as much as 95% of our success or failure in life.
95%.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's a lot. It really shows how important it is to choose our companions wisely.
Right.
But what exactly does he mean by reference group?
It's the people we spend the most time with,
Okay.
the ones who influence our thinking, our beliefs, our behavior. He says we should ask ourselves, are these people lifting me up or holding me back?
That's a good question.
Right. Are they supporting your goals and inspiring you to grow, or are they dragging you down with negativity and doubt?
Powerful question. It makes you realize that we do have a choice in who we allow to influence us.
We absolutely do.
But what if we're already in relationships with people who aren't the best influences,
Right.
like family or close friends?
Hmm.
Do we need to cut them out completely?
It's not always about making drastic changes.
Okay.
Hardy says that some relationships might need to be limited,
Yeah.
while others might require a clean break. It's about setting healthy boundaries and prioritizing our own well-being.
So being honest with ourselves about the impact of these relationships and then taking steps to protect our energy and focus.
Exactly.
But on the flip side, how do we find those positive influences?
Yeah, where do you even start looking for those, right?
Right.
Well, Hardy suggests actively seeking out mentors, role models, and what he calls peak performance partners.
Peak performance partners?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's about finding someone who's also committed to growth and achievement.
Okay.
Someone you can connect with regularly to share your goals.
Okay.
Wins your challenges and hold each other accountable.
So it's like a built-in support system for your goals.
Exactly. Hardy says he has a peak performance partner that he meets with every week
Wow, that's awesome.
to review their progress and support each other's ambitions.
Okay, so we've talked about the people we surround ourselves with.
Yeah.
But what about our environment?
Our physical surroundings.
Yeah. How does that play into this whole compound effect thing?
Hardy believes that our environment can either support or sabotage our efforts.
Interesting.
He shares the story about how being in a wealthy environment inspired him to achieve greater financial success.
Okay.
It wasn't about keeping up with the Joneses or anything. It was about being surrounded by people who had already accomplished what he wanted to achieve.
So it showed him what was possible.
Exactly. It fueled his ambition.
So it's like our surroundings set the stage for our aspirations.
Yeah.
If we're around beauty, abundance, success, it's more likely to rub off on us.
Exactly. And it's not just about fancy things either.
Right.
It's about creating a space that inspires and motivates you.
Okay.
Whether it's your home office, your gym, even your car.
So if I'm working from home and my desk is always a mess,
Yeah.
that's probably not helping my productivity.
Probably not. It's about making those small choices to design an environment that supports your goals and aspirations.
Okay, I can see that. So this all ties back to that idea of personal responsibility, right?
Absolutely. Hardy tells this really powerful story from his own life
Okay.
about betrayal and financial loss.
What happened?
His business partner cheated him out of a lot of money,
Oh, no.
leaving him feeling devastated and betrayed.
I can't even imagine.
It would be so easy to get caught up in anger and blame in a situation like that, right?
Literally.
But what's so inspiring is that Hardy chose to focus on what he could control.
Wow.
Instead of blaming his partner, he took responsibility for his own role in the situation.
That's amazing. It takes so much strength to do that.
It does. It's a reminder that while we can't control everything that happens to us,
Yeah.
we can always control how we respond.
So true. It's about taking back our power and choosing to focus on what we can influence.
Exactly.
I think that leads perfectly into another big idea from Hardy's book, Setting Goals.
Yeah, setting goals is crucial.
You mentioned earlier that it's not about having the perfect plan.
Right.
It's about taking that first step and adjusting as we go. Can you talk more about that?
Absolutely. Hardy believes that simply setting goals has a powerful effect on our subconscious mind.
Really?
Yeah, it's like giving our brains a target to focus on a direction to move towards.
Interesting.
He even quotes Albert Einstein,
Okay.
who said, "The same thinking that has led you to where you are is not going to lead you to where you want to go."
Wow, that's deep.
No.
It's like we have to break free from those old patterns that are holding us back.
Exactly.
So how do we actually set goals that are both inspiring and achievable?
Right. Well, Hardy recommends starting with a clear vision of what you want to achieve in the next 10 years.
10 years. That's a long time.
It is, but he emphasizes the importance of thinking big. He actually provides a worksheet in the book to help you break down your goals into different areas,
Well, helpful.
like finances, relationships, health, personal growth.
Okay, I like that. It's like painting a picture of your ideal future self
Exact.
and then working backwards to figure out how to get there.
You got it.
But 10 years is a long time. Isn't it overwhelming to try and plan that far ahead?
It can be, but Hardy talks about the importance of suspending reality when you're setting goals.
What do you mean?
He says, pretend it is only a gameplay in fantasy for a while.
Okay.
It's about giving yourself permission to dream big.
I like that.
to imagine what's possible without limiting yourself with doubts or practicality.
So tapping into that sense of possibility like when we were kids.
Exactly. He even uses the phrase, let the giant that lay dormant inside you out to play.
I love that.
It's about unleashing your full potential and not letting fear hold you back.
Okay, so we've got our goal set. We're feeling inspired.
Yeah.
Now what? How do we make these changes stick?
Good question. Hardy talks about the importance of identifying our core values.
Okay.
You know, those guiding principles that shape our decisions and actions?
Right.
He believes that when our goals are aligned with our values, our actions feel more authentic and meaningful.
So it's about making sure our goals are truly reflecting who we are
Exactly.
and what we stand for.
Yeah.
But how do we figure out what our core values are?
That's a good question. Hardy provides a list of potential values in his book,
Oh, cool.
and he encourages us to choose the ones that resonate most deeply with us.
Okay.
He also suggests reflecting on past experiences
Okay.
and identifying the values that were at play in those moments.
So looking back at times when we felt really alive and fulfilled.
Exactly, and trying to figure out what values were driving our actions in those moments.
Okay, that makes sense. And then what?
Well, he emphasizes that once we've identified our core values,
Yeah.
we need to make them visible in our lives.
Okay, write them down.
Exactly, or post them on your wall, or even set reminders on your phone. It's about keeping your values front and center so they can guide your decisions
Right.
on a daily basis.
Okay, so it's like creating those little reminders
Yeah,
to keep us on track.
exactly. He also talks about developing our personal brand.
Okay.
You know, the unique combination of skills, talents, and values that we bring to the world.
Right.
It's about identifying what makes you special, what sets you apart, and then owning it.
So it's like figuring out your superpower.
Exactly. He even suggests creating a mission statement that captures the essence of who you are and what you want to achieve.
Oh, good idea.
It's about crafting a statement that encapsulates your values, your aspirations, your unique contribution to the world.
Okay, so we've talked about setting goals, aligning them with our values,
Yeah.
even developing our personal brand.
Right.
But let's get practical again.
Okay.
How do we actually break those bad habits and build new ones?
Yeah, the nitty-gritty of it all.
Exactly. Where do we even start?
Well, Hardy dives deep into the science of habit formation.
Okay.
He explains that habits are basically automatic unconscious behaviors that are triggered by cues in our environment.
So it's like those times when I reach for my phone without even thinking about it,
Yeah.
or when I automatically grab a snack when I'm stressed.
Exactly. It's like we're on autopilot.
Totally. So how do we break free from that?
He says the key is to identify those triggers and disrupt the automatic response. It's about becoming more aware of those unconscious patterns and choosing a different response.
So like hitting the pause button on autopilot.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then consciously choosing a different path.
Okay, I like that. But how do we actually do that?
Well, Hardy gives us several techniques. One is to remove temptations from our environment.
Okay.
Like if you're trying to break a sugar habit,
Yeah.
clear your pantry of sweets and replace them with healthier options.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. It's about setting yourself up for success by making it easier to make good choices.
Right.
He also talks about creating new routines.
Okay.
Like if you're trying to start exercising in the morning,
Yeah.
lay out your workout clothes the night before, or set your alarm across the room so you have to get out of bed to turn it off.
So you're basically tricking yourself into doing the right thing.
Kind of. It's about creating those little nudges that make it harder to fall back into old habits.
I like that. Okay, what else?
He also emphasizes the power of rewarding yourself for positive behaviors. This could be something small, like enjoying a smoothie after a workout,
Yeah.
or treating yourself to a movie after sticking to your budget for a week.
So you're associating those good behaviors with something enjoyable
Exactly.
to make it more likely that you'll stick with them.
Precisely. He also recommends finding a success buddy.
A success buddy.
Yeah, someone who can hold you accountable and support you on your journey.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Having someone to cheer you on and keep you motivated can make a huge difference.
Totally. Especially when those cravings or temptations hit.
Exactly. It's like having a personal trainer for your habits.
Yeah, I like that. And it doesn't have to be just one person.
Nope. Hardy also talks about joining a group or community that shares similar goals.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Like tapping into the power of community
Exactly.
and knowing that you're not on this journey alone.
Right.
But let's be honest, change is hard. Even with all the best intentions,
Oh, yeah.
we're going to stumble. We're going to fall off track. How do we deal with those moments of weakness and get back on track?
That's so true.
Hmm.
Hardy acknowledges that change is a process,
Okay.
not some perfect linear path. It's about being patient with ourselves and celebrating those small wins along the way.
So giving ourselves grace when we slip up,
Yeah.
recognizing our progress no matter how small, and
Oh,
focusing on building those positive habits one step at a time.
you got it. He compares it to training for a marathon.
Oh,
You wouldn't expect to run 26 miles on your first day, right?
definitely not.
It's about starting small, building endurance, and gradually increasing the intensity.
That's a great analogy. I like that.
Yeah.
So change is a journey, not a destination.
Exactly.
But what about those times when we really need a boost?
Yeah.
When our motivation is fading, how do we reignite that inner spark?
Well, Hardy talks about the importance of visualizing success,
Okay,
vividly imagining yourself achieving your goals.
I've heard of that.
He emphasizes that our subconscious mind doesn't really know the difference between reality and imagination.
Wow.
So the more we rehearse those successful outcomes in our minds, the more likely we are to achieve them in real life.
It's like creating a mental movie of your desired future.
Exactly. And using that to fuel your motivation and inspire your actions.
I can see how that would be powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
He also talks about the power of affirmations.
Oh yeah, those positive statements.
Exactly. They reinforce our beliefs and help us overcome self-doubt.
It's like giving yourself a pep talk.
Exactly. A reminder of your strength and capabilities.
Yeah, like that.
But ultimately, he emphasizes the importance of taking action,
True.
even if it's just a small step.
Right.
Sometimes the hardest part's getting started.
Oh.
So he suggests setting a timer for just 15 minutes
Okay,
and dedicating that time to working on a specific task.
so just 15 minutes.
Yeah, just start there.
Yeah.
And he also talks about learning from our mistakes
Okay,
and using setbacks as opportunities for growth.
right.
It's about viewing those challenges as feedback,
Okay.
as data points that can help us refine our approach
I like that.
and move forward with greater wisdom and resilience.
So embrace the whole journey, bumps and all.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
use those experiences to learn, adapt, and grow.
Okay, so we've talked about visualizing success, using affirmations,
Yeah,
and taking action even when it's hard.
right.
But this all brings us back to momentum, doesn't it?
It does. Hardy refers to it as Big Mo.
Big Mo.
And he believes it's a powerful force that can either work for us or against us.
Okay, so how do we make sure it's working for us?
That's the key question. Hardy compares momentum to a snowball rolling down a hill,
Okay.
gaining size and speed as it goes. The more consistent we are with our actions,
Yeah.
the more momentum we build and the faster we move towards our goals.
So it's like those times when you're really in the zone,
Yeah,
when everything seems to be flowing effortlessly.
exactly. Like you're riding a wave of positive energy and accomplishment.
I love those moments.
Right. And Hardy gives some really compelling examples of this in action.
Like what?
Think about Michael Phelps' Olympic dominance,
Yeah.
or the success of Apple's iPod, or the rise of Google and YouTube. It's not just one big thing.
Right.
It's the accumulation of consistent effort over time
I see.
that creates that unstoppable force.
Okay, so momentum can create amazing things.
Yeah,
But how do we create it in our own lives?
right.
Is it just about working harder, grinding it out, pushing ourselves to the limit?
Not necessarily. Hardy emphasizes that it's not about brute force.
Okay.
It's about finding your rhythm and establishing routines that support your goals.
So it's about consistency again.
Exactly. It's about creating a consistent flow of positive actions
Yeah.
that build upon each other and create that upward spiral of success.
I like that upward spiral of success. So how do we get there?
That's the key question. Hardy gives some great tips for creating momentum.
Like what?
He suggests scheduling your days, setting deadlines for your tasks, and tracking your progress.
Okay.
It's about creating a structure that supports your efforts and keeps you moving forward.
So taking control of your time and your energy.
Exactly. And designing your days in a way that maximizes your productivity and focus.
I can see how that would make a big difference.
It does. And he also emphasizes celebrating your successes along the way.
Well, that's important.
Right. It's not just about grinding towards the finish line.
Right.
It's about acknowledging your progress no matter how small
Yeah.
and using that positive feedback to fuel your motivation.
So savoring those victories, big or small,
Exactly.
and recognizing how far you've come.
Absolutely. But what about those times when we hit a roadblock?
Yeah.
You know, when we feel stuck, when we lose motivation?
Yeah.
How do we get back on track and reignite that momentum?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. Well, Hardy talks about the importance of reframing your perspective,
Okay.
focusing on your why,
Okay.
and surrounding yourself with supportive people.
Okay, so it's a combination of mindset, support,
Yeah,
and action.
exactly. It's about shifting your mindset, remembering your reasons for pursuing your goals,
Right.
and leaning on your support system for encouragement.
So when those doubts and fears creep in,
Yeah.
we need to remind ourselves why we're doing this. Exactly.
Why it matters, why we're capable of achieving it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
He even suggests creating a motivation
Well,
board.
motivation board.
Yeah, with images and quotes that inspire you.
Oh, I like that.
It's about creating a visual representation of your goals and dreams.
Yeah.
Something you can look at when you need a boost.
So surrounding yourself with those visual cues
Exactly.
to remind you of what you're working towards
Right.
and why it's worth the effort.
Exactly. But even with all that, sometimes you just got to take action,
Right.
even if it's just a small step.
Right.
So he suggests setting a timer for 15 minutes
Okay, 15 minutes.
and dedicating that time to working on a specific task.
So breaking down those big goals into smaller, manageable steps.
Exactly. And then taking that first step, even if it's just for 15 minutes.
Yeah. And then hopefully that momentum builds from there.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And he also talks about learning from your mistakes
Okay.
and using setbacks as opportunities for growth.
Right.
It's about embracing the whole journey, even the bumps along the way.
Right. And using those experiences to learn, adapt, and grow.
So seeing those challenges not as failures, but as opportunities to
Exactly.
learn and improve.
Precisely. And as we delve deeper into this idea of momentum, it's crucial to remember that consistency is key.
Consistency again.
It always comes back to consistency.
Okay.
Hardy often uses the analogy of a water pump to illustrate this.
Okay. Water pump.
It takes a lot of effort to prime the pump,
Right.
but once the water flows freely, it's much easier to keep it going.
So those initial efforts are everything.
They're crucial. But once we get over that hump, it becomes much easier to stay consistent.
But what if you stop pumping?
Then you got to start all over again.
Oh, that's the worst. It's like with exercise.
Yeah,
You miss a few days and it's so hard to get back into it.
exactly. That's why consistency is so important. It's so easy to give up too soon.
I know. We often quit before we've even given ourselves enough time to see results.
Exactly. It's like that saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Love that quote.
It's so true. Even if we don't see the results right away, those consistent actions are setting us up for future success.
Okay, so consistency is key.
Yeah.
Got it. But besides consistency,
Yeah.
what else can help us maintain that momentum once we've built it?
Good question.
How do we navigate those ups and downs that life throws our way?
Hardy highlights the importance of being flexible and adaptable.
Okay.
It's not about rigidly sticking to a plan.
Right.
It's about being open to adjusting your approach as needed.
Okay.
Life is unpredictable, and we need to be willing to adapt to changing circumstances.
So it's like navigating a winding road.
Exactly. You might have to make some adjustments along the way to reach your destination.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so flexibility is important. What else?
He also emphasizes seeking feedback and learning from others.
Okay.
It's about being open to constructive criticism and using it to improve your strategies.
That takes a lot of courage, though,
It does.
to be willing to ask for feedback, especially from people who might not always agree with you.
It's not always easy, but it's so valuable to get those different perspectives
Okay.
and learn from the experiences of others.
So feedback is a gift,
It is.
even when it's hard to hear.
Exactly. It's an opportunity to gain new insights,
Yeah.
refine your approach, and ultimately accelerate your progress.
Okay, so we've talked about setting goals, aligning them with our values,
Yeah.
developing our personal brand,
Right.
breaking bad habits, building new ones,
Yep.
and harnessing the power of momentum.
It's a lot.
We've covered so much ground today.
We have.
But there's one more area I want to touch on.
Okay.
The importance of being mindful of the influences in our lives.
Ah, yes, the influences.
Why is this so crucial for success?
Hardy believes that we're constantly being influenced by the people we spend time with,
Okay,
the information we consume, and the environments we inhabit.
so it's about being aware of all those subtle influences
Exactly.
that are shaping our thoughts, beliefs, and actions.
Yeah.
Like recognizing that we're not immune to those external forces,
We're not.
and they can either help us or hurt us.
Exactly. And Hardy emphasizes that we have the power to choose which influences we allow into our lives.
So it's about being intentional
Exactly.
with who we spend time with,
Yeah,
what we read, what we watch, and where we spend our time.
you got it. It's about creating a positive ecosystem for your growth and development.
So surrounding yourself with those people, ideas, and environments
Yeah,
that nourish your mind and uplift your spirit.
exactly. He even uses the analogy of a garden,
Oh,
explaining that we need to be mindful of the seeds we're planting in our minds.
yeah.
If we want to grow a beautiful garden,
Yeah.
we need to choose the right seeds and create the right environment for them to flourish.
I love that analogy. It's so
Yeah.
true. But with so many influences out there,
Right?
how do we even begin to sort through them all and make conscious choices?
Good question. Hardy suggests focusing on three key areas of influence:
Okay.
input associations and environment.
Input associations environment.
Got it.
Okay, let's break those down one by one.
Starting with input. Okay.
What are some key takeaways for our listener when it comes to controlling the information they're consuming?
Hardy emphasizes being mindful of the information we take in,
Okay.
especially in today's digital age. He even suggests putting ourselves on a media diet.
A media diet.
Yeah. Limiting our exposure to negative news and social media.
Makes sense. I mean, that stuff can be so overwhelming.
It can.
But how do we actually implement a media diet in a world where we're constantly bombarded with information?
It's about being more selective with what we choose to consume.
Okay.
Hardy suggests replacing those negative inputs with positive, uplifting content,
Okay.
like inspirational books, podcasts, audiobooks.
So it's about feeding our minds with good stuff.
Exactly. Information that inspires, motivates, and educates us.
It's like being a curator of your own information diet.
Exactly. You're choosing what you consume instead of just passively absorbing everything.
Instead of consuming, we're curating.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Right.
What are some practical tips for doing that?
Well, Hardy suggests setting aside specific times for reading or listening to podcasts,
Okay.
unsubscribing from email lists that no longer serve you,
Yeah, good idea.
and limiting your time on social media.
So being more intentional with our time and energy
Exactly.
and making sure those precious resources are going towards things that actually nourish our minds.
Precisely.
Okay, so that's input. What about associations?
Associations are all about the people we surround ourselves with.
Okay.
Remember Hardy saying that we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with?
Oh, yeah. That's a powerful one.
It is. It means that the people we're closest to have a huge impact on our thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors.
So it's not just about what we're reading or watching.
Nope.
It's also about who we're spending our time with.
Exactly. It's about being mindful of the energy we're exchanging with others
Yeah.
and making choices that protect our well-being and support our growth.
So surrounding ourselves with people who inspire us,
Yeah.
challenge us, and support our dreams.
Exactly. People who believe in our potential and encourage us to be our best selves.
But what about those relationships that are already established?
Like family or colleagues.
Yeah. Do we need to cut ties with people who aren't the best influences?
It's not always about black and white choices. It's
Sure.
about setting healthy boundaries,
Right.
limiting our exposure to negative influences,
Yeah.
and focusing on nurturing the relationships that are most supportive.
So recognizing that not all relationships are created equal
Exactly.
and making conscious choices about how we invest our time and energy.
Precisely.
Okay, so how do we go about finding those positive influences?
The mentors, role models, and peak performance partners.
Right. Where do we even begin to look for those?
Hardy encourages us to be proactive.
Okay.
He suggests attending industry events, joining professional organizations, or even just reaching out to people you admire and asking for their guidance.
Yeah, that can be intimidating, though.
It can be. But Hardy reminds us that mentors are often flattered to be asked for their advice and insights. Oh, that's good to know.
They've probably been in your shoes at some point and understand the value of having someone to guide them along the way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we've covered input and associations.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the third area of influence: environment.
Environment is all about our physical surroundings.
Right. So how does that play into all of this?
Hardy believes that our environment can either support us or hold us back.
Interesting.
He shares this story about how being in an affluent environment actually inspired him to achieve greater financial success.
Okay.
It wasn't about keeping up with the Joneses or anything.
Right.
It was about being surrounded by people who had already accomplished what he wanted to achieve.
So it kind of showed him what was possible.
Exactly. It fueled his ambition.
So it's like our environment can set the stage for our aspirations.
Yeah. If we're surrounded by beauty-abundant success,
Yeah.
it's more likely to rub off on us.
Okay, so it's not just about having fancy things.
Yeah, not at all.
It's about creating a space that inspires and motivates us. Exactly. Whether it's your home office, your gym, even your car.
So if I'm working from home
Yeah.
and my desk is always cluttered and there are distractions everywhere,
Yeah.
that's probably not helping me get things done.
Probably not. It's about being mindful of the energy of your space and making sure it's aligned with what you want to accomplish.
Okay, I can see that. This all ties back to personal responsibility, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Hardy tells this really powerful story from his own life
Oh, yeah?
about betrayal and financial loss.
Oh, wow. What happened?
His business partner cheated him out of a lot of money.
Oh, no. It's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah, it was a really tough situation.
I can't even imagine.
It'd be easy to get caught up in anger and blame, right?
Totally.
But what's so inspiring is that Hardy chose to focus on what he could control.
That's amazing.
Instead of dwelling on the betrayal and blaming his partner,
Yeah.
he shifted his perspective and took responsibility for his own role in this situation.
Wow, that takes so much strength.
It does. It's a powerful lesson for all of us. It's a reminder that we can't always control what happens to us,
Yeah.
but we can always control how we respond.
So true. It's about taking back our power and choosing to focus on what we can influence.
Exactly.
This has been such an insightful conversation about influences.
It has.
But before we move on, I want to touch on something that really struck me in the book.
What's that?
Hardy's emphasis on taking 100% responsibility for our lives.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. It's about owning our choices and our outcomes.
Exactly. Hardy says, "We are all self-made, but only the successful will admit it."
I love that quote. It's so true.
It is. It's a reminder that we have so much more control over our lives than we often realize.
Right.
Hardy challenges us to let go of all the excuses, the blame, the victim mentality,
Yeah.
and just embrace the fact that we're in the driver's seat.
We have the power to choose our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions,
Right.
and ultimately create the life we want.
So it's not about waiting for things to happen to us.
No.
It's about making things happen.
Exactly. Taking ownership of our choices and our actions.
Right. And our responses to whatever life throws our way.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing those setbacks are going to happen,
Yeah.
but they don't have to define us.
Okay, so we've talked about influences.
Yeah.
We've touched on Hardy's personal story of resilience.
Right.
And now I want to talk about acceleration.
Acceleration. Okay.
Hardy talked about how we can multiply our results
Okay.
by going above and beyond, by exceeding expectations.
Right. Like taking things to the next level.
Exactly.
Mm.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that
Yeah,
concept?
absolutely. It's about those times when we push ourselves beyond our comfort zones,
Yeah.
when we surprise ourselves and others with our dedication and effort.
It's about those moments when we really go the extra mile.
Precisely.
Hmm.
He even compares it to those extra reps at the gym.
Oh.
When you've already hit your limit, but you decide to push for one more, it's those moments that build strength and resilience.
So instead of just going through the motions,
Yeah.
you're looking for ways to really stand out,
Exactly.
to make a lasting impression.
But how do we find those opportunities to go above and beyond?
Right.
Especially when we're already so busy.
Hardy suggests starting by identifying areas where you can exceed expectations,
Okay.
whether it's at work, in your relationships, or even in your personal growth.
Okay.
It's about looking for those moments where you can add that extra touch of thoughtfulness or effort.
Can you give us some examples?
Sure. He suggests brainstorming ideas for surprising and delighting the people in your life.
Okay.
Maybe it's sending a handwritten thank you note instead of an email,
Oh, I like that.
or offering to help a colleague with a project, even though it's not technically your responsibility.
So it's about going above and beyond what's expected.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those small gestures can make a big difference.
Yeah, I can see that. It's about showing people that you care
Exactly.
and that you're willing to put in the extra effort.
Precisely.
Mm,
And he also emphasizes being prepared.
okay.
It's about doing your homework, anticipating challenges, and having a plan in place to handle those unexpected situations. So it's about being proactive instead of reactive.
Exactly. But it's also important to find a balance.
Let's say.
You don't want to burn yourself out.
Right. How do we avoid that?
Hardy acknowledges that it's not about working ourselves to the bone. It's about being strategic with our efforts and focusing on those areas where a little extra effort can really make a difference.
Okay, so choose your battles wisely.
Exactly. And take care of yourself.
So self-care is important too.
It's essential.
Okay, so what about those times when we hit a wall?
Yeah, those moments when it feels like we've reached our limit.
How do we tap into that extra gear when we're feeling depleted?
Hardy says those moments are actually the most important ones.
Really?
He encourages us to view them as opportunities for growth, to embrace the challenge and find that inner strength to push through.
So it's about reframing our perspective
Exactly.
and seeing those challenges as stepping stones to greater success.
Precisely. It's often in those moments of discomfort that we experience the biggest breakthroughs.
Okay, so embrace the struggle.
Yeah, and Hardy even suggests using affirmations or visualizations
Right.
to help you stay motivated and focused.
So it's about using those mental tools to tap into our inner strength.
Exactly. Remind yourself of your goals, your capabilities,
Yeah.
and the reasons why you're doing this in the first place.
Okay, I like that.
But beyond mental strategies, he also emphasizes taking action,
Oh,
even if it's a small step.
so break it down into those manageable chunks.
Exactly. It's about overcoming procrastination and building momentum.
Okay, so we've covered a lot today.
We have.
We've talked about small, consistent actions.
Yeah.
We've talked about acceleration.
Right.
But before we wrap up, I wanted to talk about routines.
Routines are essential.
Exactly. Hardy believes they help automate good habits and free up mental energy.
He calls them a pre-flight checklist for success.
I love that analogy.
It's like having a system in place
Yeah,
that
yeah.
sets you up for a smooth and successful day.
Totally. And he gives some practical tips for creating effective routines.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Like starting with the end in mind, identifying your peak performance times,
Okay.
and incorporating healthy habits into your daily schedule. So you're being intentional about how you structure your day to
Exactly.
support your goals and maximize your productivity.
Precisely. And he also emphasizes having both morning and evening routines.
Right. Those rituals that bookend our days.
Yeah, starting and ending your day with intention.
Exactly. And he even shares his own morning and evening routines.
Oh, wow. What are they?
They include things like gratitude practice meditation and goal review.
I always find it so interesting to hear about the routines of successful people.
Me too. It's like a little peek behind the curtain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shows that even those who seem to have it all figured out still rely on structure and discipline.
Right. It's a good reminder that we all need those systems and structures.
But Hardy also says that routines shouldn't be rigid or restrictive.
Okay.
They should be flexible and adaptable to our individual needs.
So find what works for you,
Exactly. And be patient with yourself as you develop new routines.
because it takes time to establish new habits.
It does. But the payoff is worth it.
Absolutely. Okay, so this has been a great conversation about routines.
It has.
But before we wrap up, I wanted to revisit Hardy's emphasis on taking 100% responsibility for our lives.
Ah, yes, owning our choices and outcomes. It's such a powerful concept.
It is. Hardy says, we are all self-made, but only the successful will admit it.
Love that quote. It's a reminder that we have so much more power than we realize.
So true.
Yeah.
He challenges us to let go of the excuses and the blame
Right.
and embrace the fact that we're in control.
We are the drivers of our own lives.
Exactly. It's not about waiting for things to happen.
Nope.
It's about making things happen.
Taking action and making conscious choices.
So we're not just passengers on this journey.
We're the captains of our own ships.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about influences.
Yeah.
Hardy's personal story of resilience,
Right.
routines, and taking 100% responsibility.
It's all connected.
And it all comes back to consistency, doesn't
It
it?
always does. Consistency is the key.
Exactly. Hardy says that consistency unlocks the power of the compound effect.
Right. It's like that saying about the drip, drip, drip of water that can carve a canyon through solid rock.
It's a powerful image.
Mm.
It shows how those small, consistent actions can create incredible results over time.
Exactly. And he gives so many examples of this in action.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Like Michael Phelps' training regimen,
Okay.
Apple's commitment to innovation,
Right.
the rise of Google and YouTube.
Okay.
It's not about one big thing.
Right.
It's the accumulation of consistent effort over time.
I see. So consistency is a universal principle.
It is. It applies to every area of our lives.
Okay, so how do we make consistency a habit?
Hardy suggests starting with your core values,
Okay.
setting clear goals, and creating routines that support those goals.
That's about having a clear plan.
Exactly, and a structure to keep you on track.
Right.
He also emphasizes tracking your progress and celebrating those small wins along the way.
So acknowledge those little victories.
Exactly, and use that positive feedback to fuel your motivation.
I like that. What about when we need a little extra support?
He recommends finding a success buddy, someone who can hold you accountable and cheer you on.
Oh, yeah. I can definitely see how that would be helpful.
It is, especially when you're feeling tempted to give up.
Right. It's about remembering that you're not alone in this journey.
Exactly. But even with the best support system,
Yeah.
there are going to be times when we fall off track.
That's inevitable.
It is. But Hardy reminds us that setbacks are a part of life.
Okay.
It's not about being perfect. It's
Okay.
about being persistent.
So embrace those challenges as opportunities to learn and grow.
Exactly. Consistency isn't about perfection.
Like,
It's about progress.
keep moving forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Hardy reminds us that even small changes, when implemented consistently, can have a huge impact on our lives.
So true. So it's about trusting the process, staying consistent, and watching those small everyday actions transform our lives.
Beautifully said. It's about believing in the power of the compound effect.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the compound effect.
It's been a great conversation.
It has. We've talked about so many things.
Yeah.
The importance of small, consistent actions,
Yep.
the power of acceleration,
Right.
the influence of our environment and our associations,
Yeah.
and the importance of gratitude.
It's all connected.
And it all comes back to this idea
Yeah.
that those small, consistent actions can lead to extraordinary results over time.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave our listener with a challenge.
Okay.
What's one small positive action they can take today to start harnessing the power of the compound effect?
That's a great question. I would challenge our listeners to pick one area of their life where they want to see improvement.
Okay, one area.
And then identify one small action they can take each day to move towards that goal.
Okay.
It could be something simple like reading for 15 minutes,
Okay.
going for a walk,
Right.
practicing gratitude. The key is to choose something that feels manageable and commit to doing it every single day.
Okay, one area, one action, and do it consistently for 30 days.
Exactly. And then see what happens.
What happens after those 30 days?
Well, that's when the magic really starts to happen.
Yeah.
The compound effect takes time to work its magic.
Okay.
But once it does, the results can be incredible.
So those small actions start compounding.
Exactly. They create momentum, and that leads to those breakthroughs we were talking about.
It's about trusting the process, staying consistent,
Yeah.
and watching those small everyday actions transform your life.
It's about believing in the power of the compound effect and knowing that you have the ability to create the future you want.
One step at a time.
Exactly.
This has been such an amazing conversation.
Yes, it has.
We covered so much ground.
We have from those small, consistent actions to acceleration to the power of our environment and our associations.
Right, and the importance of gratitude.
And of course, taking 100% responsibility for our lives.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you,
Likewise.
and I hope our listeners are feeling inspired to embrace the compound effect.
Me too. It's a game changer.
It is. So until next time, keep diving deep, and remember, success is a journey, not a destination.
Well said.
And with the compound effect on your side, the possibilities are limitless.